The cardboard box slipped from her trembling hands and crashed onto the polished office floor. The sound echoed through the bright lobby like a gunshot. Papers scattered everywhere. Coffee splashed across the tiles. And then came the laughter. Not the kind laughter of people helping someone in trouble. The cruel kind. The kind that cuts deeper than words. Standing near the reception desk, disguised beneath a delivery driver's uniform and a faded baseball cap, billionaire CEO Rowan Mercer froze in place. What he heard next would change the lives of everyone in that building forever. Before we begin this emotional story, please take a moment to like this video, comment, "Heart Kindness Story." If you believe in kindness and second chances, share this story with someone who needs hope today, and subscribe to the channel for more inspiring stories that touch the heart. The morning sun poured through the glass walls of Mercer Dynamics headquarters, turning the skyscraper into a shining tower visible across the city. Employees rushed through revolving doors carrying expensive laptops and designer coffee cups. To outsiders, it looked like a perfect workplace. But Rowan Mercer had learned long ago that appearances often hid uncomfortable truths. At 48 years old, Rowan had built one of the country's most successful technology companies from a tiny garage operation. Financial magazines celebrated him as a visionary. Investors praised his leadership. Business schools taught courses about his strategies. Yet lately, something bothered him. Employee surveys looked excellent. Productivity was high. Profits were breaking records. Still, anonymous messages occasionally appeared in his inbox. Small complaints. Quiet concerns. Stories of managers treating workers unfairly. Rumors of a growing culture problem. Nothing serious enough to trigger alarms. But enough to create doubt. Rowan believed numbers could hide realities that people were afraid to speak about. That was why, without telling anyone except his personal assistant, he decided to spend a day inside his company disguised as a delivery driver. He wanted to see the truth. Not the polished version executives showed him. The real one. Early that morning, he put on a delivery uniform, attached a fake company badge, and entered the building carrying packages. Nobody recognized him. Most employees barely glanced at him. Others ignored him completely. Within hours, Rowan noticed things he had never seen before. Security guards greeting executives warmly while dismissing maintenance workers. Managers smiling in meetings but speaking harshly to assistants afterward. Small moments revealing deeper attitudes. Then he met the woman whose life would transform everything. Her name was Marina Holloway. She was 32 years old and worked in the administrative support department. To most people in the building, she was invisible. Every morning before sunrise, Marina woke up in a tiny apartment on the edge of the city. She prepared breakfast for her 7-year-old son, Noah. She packed his school lunch. She rushed him to a neighbor who watched him before school. Then she took 2 buses to work. Every paycheck disappeared almost immediately into rent, groceries, medical bills, school supplies, and transportation costs. 3 years earlier, her husband had died unexpectedly from a heart condition. One ordinary afternoon, he had gone to work. He never came home. Since then, Marina had carried the entire weight of survival alone. Most people around her had no idea. She rarely talked about her struggles. She simply kept moving forward. One difficult day at a time. Around noon, Rowan noticed her struggling with a stack of supply boxes near the lobby. Instinctively, he walked over and helped. Marina thanked him with a tired smile. It was a simple moment. But Rowan noticed something unusual. Even exhausted, she treated everyone with respect. The janitor. The receptionist. The security guard. The delivery driver she thought he was. Everyone. A few minutes later came the accident. The boxes slipped. The papers scattered. Coffee splashed across the floor. And the laughter began. Several employees standing nearby watched without helping. One rolled her eyes. Another smirked. A third made a comment about how some people were always creating problems. Then the conversation became worse. Much worse. They began discussing Marina as though she weren't standing only a few feet away. They mocked her old clothes. They criticized her appearance. They joked about her constantly working overtime. One employee mentioned hearing she was a single mother. Another laughed and suggested that maybe she should have made better life choices. The group chuckled. Their words landed like stones. Marina's face turned pale. She knelt silently on the floor collecting scattered papers while pretending not to hear. But Rowan saw everything. He saw the pain hidden behind her eyes. The humiliation. The loneliness. The quiet dignity she fought desperately to maintain. And he saw something else. Not one person stepped forward to defend her. Not one. Rowan felt anger rise inside him. Not because of the comments alone. But because they revealed a culture he never intended to create. A culture where vulnerability was mocked. Where kindness was weakness. Where people judged struggles they knew nothing about. He helped Marina gather the remaining papers. She thanked him again. Then she returned to work as though nothing had happened. But Rowan couldn't forget what he had witnessed. The rest of the day became an education. He followed Marina's path through the company. He saw her helping co-workers solve problems they couldn't handle themselves. He saw her staying late to complete tasks others ignored. He saw her skipping lunch to finish urgent projects. He saw managers taking credit for her contributions. He saw employees asking favors without ever saying thank you. And through it all, Marina remained patient. Professional. Kind. By evening, Rowan felt ashamed. Not of Marina. Of himself. He had spent years building a successful company. Yet one of his most dedicated employees was carrying enormous burdens while receiving little appreciation. The next morning, something extraordinary happened. Every employee received an email requiring attendance at an emergency company-wide meeting. Confusion spread throughout the building. Rumors exploded. Had the company been sold? Were layoffs coming? Was there a crisis? By 10 o'clock, hundreds of employees filled the auditorium. Executives sat in the front rows. Managers whispered nervously. Marina found a seat near the back. She expected another routine corporate announcement. Instead, the giant screen displayed security footage from the previous day. The lobby. The fallen boxes. The laughter. The mocking comments. A stunned silence filled the room. Faces turned white. The employees involved shifted uncomfortably. Then Rowan Mercer walked onto the stage. Without the delivery uniform. Without the baseball cap. Without the disguise. Gasps echoed throughout the auditorium. Nobody understood. Until Rowan explained everything. He told them why he had disguised himself. He described what he had witnessed. He spoke about respect. Character. Empathy. Human dignity. His voice remained calm, but every word carried weight. He explained that true success wasn't measured by stock prices or quarterly reports. It was measured by how people treated one another when nobody important seemed to be watching. Then he did something nobody expected. He invited Marina to join him on stage. The entire room watched as she slowly stood. Confused. Nervous. Overwhelmed. Tears already forming in her eyes. When she reached the stage, Rowan shared what he had learned about her work ethic, dedication, and resilience. He described the countless ways she contributed to the company's success. Most importantly, he told everyone about the courage required to raise a child alone while continuing to show kindness to others. Many employees lowered their heads in shame. Some wiped tears from their eyes. For the first time, people saw Marina not as an invisible office worker, but as a human being. A mother. A survivor. A person carrying battles they never bothered to understand. Then Rowan announced a series of changes. Managers would receive empathy and leadership training. Employee recognition programs would be redesigned. Support services for working parents would expand dramatically. Anonymous reporting systems would be strengthened. Respect would become a measurable performance standard throughout the company. But Rowan wasn't finished. He turned toward Marina. In front of the entire organization, he promoted her to Director of Employee Experience, a newly created role focused on improving workplace culture. The room erupted in applause. Not polite applause. Real applause. The kind that comes from genuine emotion. Marina covered her mouth as tears streamed down her face. For years, she had wondered if anyone noticed her efforts. Now she had her answer. The story spread quickly. Not because of the promotion. Not because of the CEO's disguise. But because people recognized something powerful in what happened. Everyone carries invisible struggles. The coworker sitting quietly beside you. The cashier serving your groceries. The delivery driver dropping off packages. The single parent trying to survive another exhausting day. We rarely know the full story. Weeks turned into months. The culture inside Mercer Dynamics began changing. Employees became more supportive. Departments collaborated better. Turnover dropped. Morale improved. People started paying attention to one another. And Marina flourished in her new role. She used her experiences to build programs helping employees facing hardships. She created mentorship opportunities. Support networks. Resources for parents. Emergency assistance funds. Every initiative came from a place of understanding. A place of compassion. A place earned through struggle. One afternoon, nearly a year later, Rowan walked through the office and noticed something that made him smile. A young employee accidentally dropped a stack of documents. Before the papers even touched the floor, 5 co-workers rushed over to help. No laughter. No judgment. Only kindness. The culture had changed. Not perfectly. But meaningfully. And it all began because one person chose to pay attention. If this story has touched your heart so far, please like the video, share it with friends and family, and leave a comment letting us know where you're watching from. Your support helps spread stories of kindness and hope to people who need them most. Special request, comment below with one kind thing someone has done for you that you will never forget. Years later, Marina often reflected on that painful day in the lobby. Strangely, she no longer remembered the cruel words clearly. Time had softened them. What she remembered instead was a delivery driver kneeling beside her, helping gather scattered papers. She remembered feeling seen. Respected. Valued. Because sometimes the smallest act of kindness arrives at exactly the moment a person needs it most. And sometimes the people we overlook are quietly carrying extraordinary strength. The employees who mocked her eventually learned difficult lessons about empathy and accountability. Some changed. Some left. But all of them discovered that character matters far more than status. As for Marina, every evening she returned home to Noah, who grew into a bright and compassionate young man. He often asked his mother how she stayed strong during the hardest years. Her answer never changed. She told him that life would always bring challenges, disappointments, and heartbreak. But kindness had a way of finding its way back. Sometimes through strangers. Sometimes through friends. And sometimes through unexpected people wearing delivery uniforms. On a bright afternoon many years later, as Marina watched her son graduate, she felt overwhelming gratitude. Not because life had become easy, but because she had survived long enough to see better days arrive. The truth is that every person you meet is fighting a battle you cannot see. A gentle word may save someone's day. A helping hand may restore someone's hope. A moment of compassion may change a life forever. And that is exactly what happened when a CEO pretended to be a delivery driver and discovered that the greatest measure of success was never wealth, power, or titles. It was kindness. The kind of kindness that lifts people when they are down. The kind that sees worth where others see weakness. The kind that reminds us all that every human being deserves dignity, respect, and a chance to be understood. And sometimes, that kindness changes everything.